Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Today's topic is about attitude and how attitude matters. What kind of brought this topic onto me was there was a time a few sessions ago when I was talking about manifesting abundance, just this idea that kind of shows up in meditation, uh, maybe here on Insight Timer as well. I think the manifest abundance channels tend to be relatively popular, and in that time that I was talking about it was maybe even a more than just skeptical of manifest abundance kind of things. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, instead of just being negative towards that idea, because I don't believe that if I imagine myself getting a new car, it's going to cause me to get a new car. I don't think that's a very realistic way of thinking. However, that said, I want to make sure today to point out that your attitude and what you think is going to happen in the future does matter. And I think that's really where some of this idea about manifesting abundance comes from, is that it does have an effect on you. It does have a positive effect on you to have a positive attitude, to believe that something good is going to be happening in the future for you instead of something bad. And there's research behind that, and that psychologically what happens to us when we envision a particular future. So if we envision things and going really well, doing great, like we've been doing great, we have there's a higher chance of success because of how the brain works, how our minds work, how our bodies work. That when we envision things going in a way that, in a positive way, it causes our bodies to be prepared for that positive outcome to happen. And similarly, if we are expecting something negative to happen, if we've already given up before we've started, the chance of success is a lot lower. And I think maybe this sounds intuitive, like it makes sense, but if it beyond the scope of just belief of how it works. So just kind of wanted to share that, and also just kind of bring in from Regina Pali, is a psychiatrist who has written an article called The Predicting Brain, and describes this kind of phenomenon in this way. According to neuroscience, even before events happen, the brain has already made a prediction about what is most likely to happen and sets in motion the perception, the behaviors, the emotions, the physiological responses, and interpersonal ways of relating that best fit with what is predicted. In a sense, we learn from the past what to predict for the future, and then we live the future that we expect. So it's so what we can do to take some kind of action is to actively try to tell ourselves the story of success, about that our lives are going to be successful, because we're already telling ourselves stories about how life's going to be, but it's largely unconscious. So we have the chance to expand our sense of possibility, to bring some idea and some creativity to what could potentially happen. And so this is so I've done this exercise as part of a program that I'm about to explain to you. That there's a journaling exercise that was done that you can do yourself, that helps to predict a more positive future. And what you can do here, and what we'll do as part of the meditation today, is just try to imagine what life would be like if all if all the roadblocks were taken away? What if everything were easy? What if our everything that we worked at was successful? What would the future look like for you? So this is kind of an exercise in envisioning the positive possibilities. So as we envision, we start to see what could potentially be possible. And without having done that, maybe you never would have even considered this as a possibility. And you can think about, probability. No matter how low the probability of something happening is, there's still a chance that it will happen. And kind of the example that it tends to get used, or that I've used as I've discussed this, and I'll share it here. Roz Savage. She was in her time. She was in her mid-30s. She was working an investment banking job, and the exercise that she did was write your own obituary, right? So you're going to write your own, and this isn't the exercise we're going to do, but this was her exercise, was to write your own obituary. You're going to write it 2 times. First, you'll write it as what would happen if your life continues on the trajectory that it's on, and where will you end up? And then your second obituary is, imagine that that your wildest dreams come true, and that you really do you follow your passion, and you do really what it is that you're passionate about. What is going to happen? What are the two obituaries? And Roz found that the first one that she wrote, she just felt really heavy and bogged down, and it was challenging for her to write. The second one that she wrote, she found that she couldn't stop writing. That as she was writing, that it's just the pen flowed, and it would write furiously. And I guess I'll say a disclaimer here is you don't have to radically change your life to have a really positive impact, and to have something really, to have a really positive, amazing change. But Roz's story, she has ends up using that to make some decisions to radically change her life. That she quit her job, she got a divorce, she decided that she was going to row across the ocean. So she became the first woman to, she became the first woman to row across the Atlantic by her own power. And it wasn't an easy journey, right? It wasn't something that came super easy. Her oars broke, and her stove broke down. Like a lot of issues happened, but in the end, she did become the first woman to row across the Atlantic Ocean. And since then, she's been the first woman to row across the Indian Ocean. And I'm not even sure what more Roz has accomplished since the last time I checked on what's going on with Roz Savage. But this idea is that it all started from this kind of little writing exercise where she envisioned what her most ideal future would be. And so while imagining yourself having a brand new car may not cause the car to manifest inside of your garage or make you have a windfall of money, there is some real practical benefit of envisioning a future, and it does lay the psychological groundwork for you to be successful. So if you imagine you're going to be unsuccessful, this is going to already lay the groundwork for you to be unsuccessful and increase your chance of being unsuccessful. Whereas on the flip side, if you can, even if you don't know how, imagine what your most ideal future is, then it can come about. And by the way, the journaling exercise that went along with this is something that I did in 2018. And as I found that journaling exercise and I've opened it and I've read it, and I was amazed to see that a lot of what I had written actually has come true. So that's how we're going to start our meditation today. So go ahead and get comfortable. So you can be sitting up, you could be lying down, you could be standing. So let's take a few moments to center ourselves, to let go of whatever thoughts we have as best we can. And the way to do that is to focus on the feeling of breathing. So concentrate your attention on the feeling of the inhale, the feeling of the exhale. Allow your breath to anchor your mind in the present moment. So you may find your mind wandering off. Each time you find your mind wandering to some other topic, see if you can bring your attention back to feeling the breath, being aware of the physical sensation of breathing. And so whatever you've come from, wherever you're going, are not important right now. What's important right now is right now. Being here, being present, aware of being alive in this moment. And so maybe through these few minutes of observing the breath, it's helped our minds to relax a little, to let go of whatever may be heavy in our minds and our hearts today. And so what I'd like to ask you to do is imagine your life 5 years from now. And so try your best to imagine it in as much vivid detail. And I'd like you as well to imagine it as if everything that you're working on now has succeeded. That every chance, every probability that something can go right in your life, it does. All of your endeavors are successful. all of your work on your relationships succeeds. And so imagine with as much detail what life is like 5 years from now. So maybe you can imagine, where are you? What are your surroundings like? See if you can even imagine with that much detail. Where am I? What is around me? Who is around me? What am I doing? What is my job? What has happened in my career? What has happened in my relationships? How about the people around me? How have they changed in the last 5 years? And if you happen to have a pen and paper near you, I know I didn't write this in today's intro or talk about it earlier. You have a keyboard, and feel free to take a moment to write about what your life is like 5 years from now. And so you could start off with, today's date. So May 1st, 2029, or May 2nd, 2029. And just allow yourself to free flow write. What is my life like now? And you may be surprised what comes up. So I'll allocate the last 5 minutes of our meditation for you to do any writing you like. And for those of you like me right now, I don't have anything in front of me to write. You can continue to imagine our ideal future 5 years from now if that still resonates with you, or you can come back to following the breath. Following that physical sensation of air moving in and out of the body. And so I'll remain silent for the next 5 minutes while you choose to do one or the other. Okay. I'm going to close our practice with 3 rings of the bell. All right. Congrats, everybody, for making it through today's meditation. How'd it go today? Did you engage in the writing exercise? If you did, maybe take a moment to look over what you've written, see what's there. Is it expected? Is it a surprise? Feel free to share in the chat. And so what I'll do here and now, as I'm waiting for things to come in, is talk about what I'm going to do next time. So I don't have it scheduled on my live events yet. So I will be putting it up later today. It's going to be about managing setbacks. So as we've done this kind of envisioning exercise, and this is maybe a bit of homework for you, if you didn't do the writing exercise, would encourage you to give it a try. So imagine your life 5 years in the future, everything goes perfectly as planned, and every probability of success is successful. And what happens? And just try writing, because you might be surprised how, the idea of doing the meditation is to kind of prepare the mind for that idea, to really imagine what that time is going to be like. And then the writing, you might be surprised what starts to come out as you do this kind of writing. So these kind of free flow journaling exercises can be very interesting and sometimes revealing about what's coming out of the subconscious. So this said, of course, things aren't going to all go perfectly as planned. And what could potentially happen is, as we're expecting our ideal futures to come out, something doesn't go as planned, and then we, how do we react? How do we manage that setback? So that's what next time is going to be about. So today we talk about envisioning the ideal future. Next time we talk about, well, what do we do? Because some of those things, unfortunately, as we plan, and even as I reflect back on my writing about my most ideal future, some of that stuff doesn't happen. So when it doesn't happen, when you encounter something that doesn't go the rosy way that you expected it to, there are ways to react, and one of them is to be completely crushed and defeated and not be able to move forward, and then there's a way to continue and to press on. So that's what we're going to talk about next time. And so 2D says, needed this writing exercise, to be honest. Happy to hear that. And Ren says, interesting, some self-doubt popped out. And it is interesting. It can be very interesting what happens in these exercises. And Eleanor shares, feeling angry, my partner is so annoying. And anytime I always kind of encourage, anytime we think about the other, just to remind ourselves that the person that we can change is ourselves. That we cannot, no matter how annoying somebody is, we don't have the ability to change them. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. And I'm sorry, Eleanor, to hear that you have some challenge that your partner is annoying. Gene was saying, I was thinking about being older makes it harder. And it's interesting, just kind of the contrast, because Dirk was saying being older makes it easier. So, yeah, well, you never know what's going to happen in the future, right? So, what is that ideal future like? You never know, right? When it comes to how the length of our life, we really never know how that's going to be. And so, I would encourage you to think about it not as I imagine if everything went at best as planned, that we're still alive after 5 years at least. And remember, Gene says I'm in the middle of something that didn't do or didn't go as planned. I leave here trying to alter the outcome. And just to remember that although this exercise is about outcomes, that the thing that we have, as we talked about last time, we have the ability to change what we do and what our effort is towards the things we do. But what we don't have control over is the outcome. We don't have the ability to choose what the outcome is. The next live is on Tuesday. It's Singapore time, so right now it's 5:42 a.m. on Thursday, May 2nd here in Singapore. So the next live event will be on Tuesday at 5:10 a.m. Singapore time. So whatever time it happens to be for you, that's when it'll be. I'll be posting that later today, so you can sign up for that. If you don't follow me on Insight Timer, please do. That helps me a lot. I appreciate that. And check out my tracks that are out there, and that helps as well. And look forward to sharing about managing setbacks next time. So let's send our well wishes out to ourselves and to each other. So follow along after me if you like. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. May all sentient life here on this planet, throughout the universe, wherever it is, may we all be happy and peaceful. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.